Hello, TNA fam. How's it going? We're back here at the Impact Zone podcast. And, well, today I want to talk about how a wrestler should choose a finishing maneuver. Now, I kind of want to break finishing maneuvers down into, maybe about maybe four different elements, perhaps, at least roughly speaking. Probably three-ish, I guess, maybe, whatever. But, yeah, I think there's mostly, three styles of wrestling finishers. The power finisher, like big power moves. These are for guys that are big and strong and whatnot. Those are those sorts of finishers. The power bomb. I mean, the power bomb can be it can fall in different sectors or whatever. It can be a surprise finisher type thing. But anything can be a surprise finisher if you get it in the right way, if you know what I mean, or if you kind of hit it out of nowhere. So I don't know about that, but still, anyway, power finishers kind of does what it says on the tin, so to speak. A lot of these do what they say on the tin, so to speak. High flying finishers. They're for basically little guys or whatever. Guys who are very athletic, at the very least. Guys who can fly around, do all these moves, and whatnot. Those are for those guys. So, Rey Mysterio 619, whatever. The 450 splash, whatever. Those sorts of things. Are finishers that I would consider high flying or whatever. Something for somebody athletic. Technical. Now, technical can be a bit it's all submissions, but I don't really think that you have to have all submissions to really have a technical finisher. I think a technical finisher is something like a pile driver. It requires some amount of power. There's always something that you might say, well, that's a power move, or it could be interpreted as a power move, but it's more about technique. It's not about high flying, obviously, but you obviously do need some amount of power to execute that said maneuver. And there's obviously a lot of other ones. But, if you think about, what a technical finisher is, it's kind of hard, besides, submissions, to actually, go, that's a technical, finisher. I don't really think a lot of strike finishes are finishers. So, there are some, but, I don't know. I think a running knee isn't really a finisher, or a running elbow or a running clothesline is really a finisher anymore. Those are sort of more signature moves, I think, now. There's only a few people that can get away with just a running lariat or whatever, just a running knee or whatever else it is. You have to have more for your finisher, or it has to be set up in such a way that it's oh yeah, this is the final blow after all these other things. It wasn't really the finisher, but it was the thing that finished the match, so to speak, or whatever. And then there's the surprise finisher. Now, I think, again, I might talk about a few finishers here that are the RKO. That's I don't know whether it's what you could actually put it into besides a surprise, the code breaker. Yes, sure, again, you've got to have some amount of athleticism to kind of pull that off, but again, it's much more of a surprise maneuver. It's these maneuvers just come out of nowhere. The super kick, sort of not really a technical finisher, I don't really think. It's more of a, oh shit, he caught him out of nowhere type finisher. These finishers that you basically just like, you stun somebody out of nowhere sort of thing, and they weren't sort of expecting it. Um, that's that sort of finisher. Uh, so I actually I want to say before I move too further along, I will count Schoolboy and any other like pinning combinations as technical finishers. Like even if like technically speaking they're not really a finisher, like we've seen so many times that like the schoolboy or whatever, the surprise roll up or whatever else finishes the match, especially when somebody gets distracted or whatever else it is, or hit on the head with the championship or whatever else it is, all that sort of thing. There's one more that I kind of think about that kind of is different, and that is the cheating. Now, that's and what got me thinking about that was the fact of saying, hey, he hit him with the belt in that roll up, whatever, da 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 da. So I think cheating finishers are anything that is obvious cheating. So when somebody uses the brass knucks, when somebody uses the powder and blinds somebody and then uses a schoolboy and then wins that way, or a low blow or whatever else it is, or uses a weapon and then puts a submission on or whatever, or it just knocks somebody out, those are cheating finishers. So it's not really like I would count. Actually, maybe I will say strike finishers are also a different set of finishers. Because if you hit somebody with a strike finisher that has a weapon, then it's also different. So again, maybe strike finishers are actually like a different type of thing. So I guess the running knee or the like shining wizard or whatever else, those sorts of things are strike finishers. I guess the 619 kind of is a strike finisher because you're just hitting them in the head or whatever, things like that. I don't know. I guess the super kick a strike? Kind of. I don't know. So those sorts of style things are just like things that exist. So now we've kind of broken down at least most of the things that, I mean, we could be here all day trying to define what sort of areas finishers like land in. But like, I think like anything but like the first three that I really talked about, it's like a lot of them, like cheating finishers, surprise finishers, whatever, strikes, they basically could be used by almost anyone and everyone, but they don't, like, I think like a surprise pin or a technical pin, like you could almost say that they almost come into two categories somewhat. But you could almost say, like, it depends. Like, you could say, again, this was not just a schoolboy. It wasn't just a technical move. It wasn't just a surprise move. It was also a cheating move or whatever. It was a cheating, technical surprise, like maneuver that won the match. But it doesn't really matter what sort of category you find yourself in. It's what each wrestler is suited for, because obviously, like, again, or whatever your character is at the time as well, like, again, even if you have a power finisher, all right, so now I'm the cheaty guy, or whatever, I'm the heel, okay, and I'm gonna cheat, but I've got to still win with my finisher, because, or whatever it is, because I want to win with my finisher or whatever it is. So I'm not going to just use my finisher on them, especially if like they've already kicked out of it. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Which like makes it look a bit weak or whatever, but like you're heel at that time, so it's like everything you do looks weak because the babyface has got a kick out of everything apparently. But yeah, like now I'm just gonna get a chair or I'm gonna get something and I'm gonna whack them with it or whack them into it and then pin them, or whatever it is. But that's especially like the mentality of like, or it should be the mentality of power style wrestlers. I'm going to hit them with something or I'm going to hit them into something. A power wrestler shouldn't be going into well, not say cheap stuff because that's where you're getting your heat, but like you shouldn't be going down the route of being like, I'm going to suddenly start doing things that like I really shouldn't do. Like that's not my role to do those things. I know people get bored of seeing me do the same stuff or whatever else it is, but the thing is, those are my things to do. If I start doing 619s and Hurricane Ranas and whatever else, it's like, well, what's the cruiserweight guy gonna do? Now he's got to try to be doing things that he either can't do or shouldn't be doing again. So you're like, that's why wrestlers have to sort of stay in their lane, so to speak. You're a high flyer. Okay, you've got to do high flying things. Or you're a little guy, so you've got to do high flying things or technical things or whatever else it is. Like you've got to do those things that surprise opponents. You've got to do strikes. I think everyone has to do strikes generally, but you could have a strike based finisher or whatever, like a super kick maybe or whatever. That's also a surprise finisher, I guess, as well. So as I said, but still, you can't be then going, oh, I'm just going to powerbomb this guy. If it's like a sunset flip powerbomb, then oh, okay, that's a bit different. But like, you know what I mean? Like, how often are you going to get into that sunset flip powerbomb? Unless it's like a code red or whatever else it is. Then it's like, or whatever you want to call it. Or maybe like a pop-up powerbomb, I don't know. But that's almost more technical, but it's also a bit more power. But like, it's not to say that you can never do these sorts of things. It depends on your opponent. If your opponent is smaller than you, then perhaps you can lean into your power game and say, oh, yes, I'm still smaller than a lot of wrestlers here, but this wrestler is smaller than me, so I've got to use whatever advantage I've got against them. So it's like thinking around like things that are different sometimes, like, or whatever. You can't just be stuck into saying, oh, well, this is always going to be the case or whatever it is. Like, same for like if you're the smaller wrestler, even if you're Dave Bautista and you're pretty darn strong or whatever it is, whoever it is, I don't care. But now you're facing someone, a super heavyweight, like the Big Show or whatever. I don't know. It's like, well, now my advantage is that I am faster than them and probably just as strong as them, but I'm definitely faster than them. So I've got to rely on my quickness, something that I don't normally do, but, now I've got to rely on that. Like, I'm still going to have probably the same finisher, but maybe I'll have to do it in a different way. I'll have to come at things in a different direction because can I even lift this person up, or whatever else it is to do my maneuver that I normally do, or am I going to have to come at them with something else, am I going to have to try, something that I've never done or something that, I hope works, like, or am I just going to have to get lucky or, what's it actually going to take? And that's where you could be like, by any means necessary, cheat to win or whatever, or just by surprise again or whatever, different things like that. So each wrestler, I think there's only like maybe three styles of wrestler, really. Your like cruiserweight, light heavyweight guys, your technical wrestlers, and then your power wrestlers. Those are the only real types of like wrestlers, I think. Like maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but like again, so obviously like they fit into the neat categories, the first three categories that I was talking about. But the other couple of characteristics of like moves, like you could also say like I'm going to do this maneuver in a more like out of nowhere or more surprising way because that's how I'm envisioning me, like if you're being booked to win, um and you're like, oh shit, okay, well normally my finisher is this or whatever it is, but today I probably can't do it in the same way as what I would normally do it, so I've got to surprise them out of nowhere today to try to get that win because that's the only thing that'll make sense or whatever else it is, because people won't believe that I beat like Rey Mysterio beat Batista that easily. It would have to be like a surprise win or whatever. It'd have to be something like that or by some other shenanigans. And especially if you're the babyface, it's like, well, then I can't really do many other shenanigans unless it's like by accident or what have you, that sort of thing, or it was on the outside or things like that or whatever, and they just happen to fall into the ring steps or they happen to get counted out or whatever it was. Not usually that's not the way you want to win those sorts of matches though, but still, like that might be the answer. Like it was the last man standing and he just so happened to fall over and get clocked on the steps or whatever after I hurricane randed him, and then he was down for 10. So what else can I do? Like that's what I had to do to win that match. But so but I'm not just saying like that. But it's like it does like obviously that never. I don't think that ever happened. But yeah, like obviously, don't worry too much about like the specifics. I'm just saying like if you're facing somebody in a situation where you're like, oh, okay, how am I meant to win this thing? It's got to look like, oh shit, this maybe wasn't meant to happen ish, kind of. This was kind of surprising or whatever, because like if we were in a fight, you would expect that big guy, that big old muscle guy or whatever, to beat Rey Mysterio. So it's like, well, how is he meant to win? Like I think the West Coast Pop, that's like a great surprise finisher type thing. It can be in some ways if you get it timed right and whatnot. I do think like though a lot of like uh uh like aerial maneuvers, apart from the ones that are like springboard something, are a lot harder to hit. So, or what have you. Unless you're only up there very quickly or you're like, literally, up and down. You're very quick to do it. It's like, I think Kalani Jordan calls it one of the kind, but it's the split-legged moonsault. I think like the BME. The BME is like yes, you're taking two jumps or whatever it is, but you're doing that in like one fluid like action, and it comes together in like a couple of seconds realistically. So you can't, well, not so much you can hit it out of nowhere, but you can hit it fairly quickly. Whereas a lot of other, like the splash or the 450 splash or a lot of other high flying maneuvers, it takes a while to kind of set those, well, not set them up, but sort of get in the right position and get in the right timing to kind of hit those. So you actually have to go about setting up your opponent, getting them down for long enough for you to scale the ropes and to, then, do your thing and come off and then win, So those, unless you're like, I don't know, unless you like literally like leapt into it, maybe like you could do that way. But that's something like else. Like I don't know. I do think you could try to do them more like succinctly, but I think a lot of drama comes from, the fact that, somebody's up all the way up there and it's like, okay, they've got to get their feet right, they've got to this and that, whatever else it is, their opponent's got to be down and not get up, and so there's always like, oh no, is he going to get up, or is he going to get out of the way, or whatever, and all this sort of stuff. So, like, I think that adds to some of those finishers, because, like, when you do see them hit it, it's like, if you've seen them working and working and working and working throughout the match, and finally they're down, and finally they can get up there, and finally, come on smashing down or whatever, it's like, oh shit, he worked his way there, he finally got there or whatever, so, but yeah, it's one of those things of, when you're coming in, you've got to, like, stand out as well from kind of, not everyone else, but a lot of the people that are in the same, like, area as you, especially. But you've also got to stand out from every other, like, wrestler that's on the roster. So, there's no point in 12 guys having the spear as a finisher. Like, it's a great, like, move, obviously. So it's, like, hard for people to be like, oh, yeah, why would we not do this? This is a great psychology spot or whatever. But now I think that's becoming more of a signature move for a lot of people, seemingly. And it's only a finisher by some. I don't know, like, you could still think, like they used to, like, back in the day, when it's like, you never know when something's going to win somebody the match, which is, like, cool, because it's like, dude, it's boring being like, oh man, this is gonna finish the match, but it's also, like annoying in some ways to be like, oh man, that didn't finish the match, or whatever it is, sometimes to be like, oh my god, or whatever. Like, they're just spamming finishers. It's like that. I think that becomes annoying. But it is what it is sometimes. That's kind of like, the thought of the psychology of, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to kick out of 500 finishers, whatever the fuck it is. So, but yeah. I think it's interesting to think about how, like, where you're at as a competitor or whatever in that ring, and saying, okay, like, especially when you're, like, going to a new company or something or whatever, and you've got a established finisher, and it's like, man, now I've got to get my shit over, or whatever else it is. Like, this is the thing, like, a lot of people talk shit about, like, somebody, like, what's his name, Muhammad Hassan, like, or you all remember him, because he came into WWE, and they gave him the camel clutch as the finisher. And I think he said to Eddie Guerrero, can you not use the camel clutch because it's my finisher now? Like, so I don't think that there's anything wrong with that in some ways. It's like, dude, I'm trying to protect this finisher, and here you are doing the same move. And I understand there's a lot of history with the Guerreros and having like supposedly invented that move or whatever it was and all this stuff or whatever. But like, if this guy is here and he's like, dude, I've got this, I've got to do this as a finisher now. Like, can you please not do it? Like, I need to try to protect it so that, you know, I can get my shit over. If you're over here doing this, then it makes my shit look worse. You know, only one of us can do it. Like, and since it's my finisher for now, like, I need you to not do it. As like saying as respectfully as possible. It's like saying like, dude, I can't, like, this is the office. I'm not, you know, trying to be an asshole and just saying, oh well, I have this camel clutch and it's my finisher. No, they're getting me to do this gimmick and they're saying, oh, we want you to use the camel clutch, dude. So I'm here to say, hey, could you please not do it so I can help get my shit over. At least when I'm on the show, whatever it is, or whatnot, you know. Because that's the thing. It's like, if I brought Goldberg in, like in his prime against Roman Reigns, and then like it's like both of these guys have the spear. Like, maybe you could say, okay, it's all right that both of them have the spear as a finisher, but then we have to make that a story. We can't just have both of these guys have the spear. And that's the problem now with a lot of guys having the same finisher. It's like there's no like persons being like, hey, wait a minute. You're using the same finisher as me. What the heck? Like, even if it was like thought about backstage, it would be like, dude, why are all these guys using the spear or whatever fucking move it is as a fucking finisher or even as a signature? There's too many guys using this move and none of them are all being like, hey, isn't my spear the best? Or isn't my spear the best? Or what, you know, there's got to be one person that uses that move or whatever it is the best and that can use that move from now on. The rest of them can't use it because, again, it's like, well, why would we have 500 or whatever, even 3 people doing the same move unless like it's like, well, this is an angle now. It's not just like a thing that these 2 guys have the same move. Okay, we're going to put them against each other and say, well, Goldberg, you're old and, you know, whatever. It's time to retire, Goldberg. So you're going to put over Roman, and he's going to be the new master of the spear, or whatever. You know, things like that. You know, because again, that's the sort of thing that should happen. Like, again, like if people have the same finisher, they should be calling other people out and saying, hey, my spear is better than yours. Like, Braun Baker's is one of the best spears. And it's like, he should be going after Roman, or he should be going after, like, somebody like, Goldberg or whatever, and being like, my spear is better than Goldberg's spear. Or my spear is better than Roman's spear. My spear is better than, you know, like, even that would just work for him. Like, that would really work for Breaker. Things like that. Like, he's meant to be Mr. Braggadocious, you know? Especially Riley's a heel, you know? I don't love to talk about the WWE guys, but, you know, a lot of people know about those guys. So it's, like, easy to talk about them and say, hey, this is my thing, you know? And there's just so many more of them in so many ways, so. But yeah, you could obviously do the same thing. Like bring somebody in that, basically like Shawn Michaels 2.0. You had Chris Jericho kind of do that sort of thing, kind of, where he was like, you felt like they were two halves of the same coin kind of thing. And then you have like Dolph Ziggler kind of being like very in that same vein of being like almost in the next coming of Shawn Michaels, like very much a big seller and whatnot and all of this, and obviously has the super kick and whatnot, very homageous to Shawn in many ways. Uh, and so bring somebody along that's basically Dolph Ziggler, but a new guy. Same sort of thing. Or Jericho 2.0 or Michaels 4.0 or whatever you want to call it. Just bring in a guy that's like, okay, he's basically copying, or not like copying, but he's like, you know, he copies guys like that. He knows their abilities, like things like that, and it's like he can replicate them, and try to do it better or whatever. You can only do that like actual person who replicates everyone, like would be a lot harder. Somebody who comes in and replicates one person might be a lot easier. Like you've had a few people that have kind of almost like come in like Kurt Angle and been like, I will do what Kurt Angle did, but it hasn't really worked as well, you know. Um, I think Josh Alexander is like the biggest or the best like guy who came along that was like not exactly, because I think we even got a little beef into that, but whatever. But yeah, he was like he had a lot of stuff that was like, damn, this guy's like Kurt, and like, like uh knowing to be, it's like this was a decision. This was like, I'm gonna try to be me, but Kurt. I'm gonna mix in a little bit of that Kurt stuff, and like try to do some of that. You know, but also being myself. You know, so it is cool to see people kind of do homages sometimes as well to things and to other wrestlers and whatnot. It's cool to see that, man, because it's like Ric Flair effectively was an homage to Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. You know, people say like Nature Boy Buddy Landell was like a ripoff of Flair. No, it was more of a ripoff of uh, of Rogers. And both of them are ripoffs of other things from even further back. Like further back gimmicks and whatnot. So it's like there's always like even people who say like uh Billy Graham like was like an innovator. Yes, absolutely, he was an innovator. I don't want to take anything away from him, but like he took things from other people as well. He took things from you know other performers that had come before him, like other flamboyant characters. There had always been like flamboyant characters in wrestling. So just taking it to another dimension, you know, and doing something else brought brought people in, you know. Uh, so that and just being the bodybuilder and doing the having the muscles and stuff like that. It was like that was the innovation. That was where the innovation was for him. Like not many like guys, like not none no guys were ever like there, but like a lot of guys weren't as like well defined. You just had like maybe Ken Patera later on. I think Ken Patera was about the same time actually. Or was he a bit earlier? I don't know. I don't remember. But you know what I mean? Like there's a few guys that had somewhat of a physique, not like a bodybuilder physique though, you know. So that sort of came in with him. But yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it anyway, guys. But obviously, like, again, you could say, like, as a power wrestler, I'm going to use a power submission hold, like the torture rack or whatever. Still takes a lot of power to do that, but it's like also a technical thing or whatever, because it's not just, you know, it's not just a maneuver like I pull him up and I put him down or whatever. It's like me having to hold him up there and stretch him the right way and whatever to get him to submit or whatever. So, but yeah. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on how wrestlers should like try to decide their finisher, like because it's all like really tough. But again, you can't be too similar to anyone else because like or whatever because you're always going to have comparisons to somebody else, but like no matter what, especially if you have a finisher that's like, oh wait, that's such and such's finisher or whatever is famously such and such's finisher, you know, or you know this person just retired with that finisher or whatever it was, or even so, it's like still like wow, it's tough to get away from, and it's tough to be like, oh, here come the Germans too, whatever, you know. It's not like, oh, we haven't seen those from a certain person, you know, that also did the ankle lock. Wait a minute, or whatever it is, you know. So the combination sometimes also like tough because it's like you're doing all these things, but yeah, it's like I don't know. Sometimes it's like, is this good? Is this bad? You know, you know, what is it? Have we gone too far down the rabbit hole and now we're just copying, or is this like good? Because it's like, yeah, this is what this guy's about. So yeah, whatever. But anyway, guys, hope you have enjoyed. I hope you will join me again in another one.